Okay, I'm gonna harp on this white South African refugee story just a little bit longer, because the blatant hypocrisy in all of this is just, it's blinding. The way that Donald Trump and the rest of MAGA talk about immigrants is extremely racist and dehumanizing. The things that they are doing to immigrants and asylum seekers right now is horrific and fascist. Just today, the Department of Homeland Security said that they are going to revoke the status of about 9,000 Afghan refugees who fled and came here after the Taliban took over Afghanistan. Some of those refugees, some of those people, helped us against the Taliban, and now they're just being sent back. People who fled actual oppression, people who will be killed when they return to that country, are just...
Hello family, welcome once again to another episode on my YouTube channel. We'll be focusing on white South Africans who were recently granted refugee status by Trump administration, following the first movement of 49 white South Africans to the USA on Monday, 12th, 2025. White Americans have been left furious with the welcoming of the refugees into USA. We all thought white Americans would be happy seeing their kind coming to the US, but you are all wrong. It seems it's the opposite. Let's watch the following videos.
Just rejected by the United States. Meanwhile, a bunch of white people who grew up during apartheid are being welcomed with open arms. Literally, the Deputy Director of State, the Deputy Director of Homeland Security met with these South African refugees today for a freaking photo op. And literally, like, the way they talk to them. I'm just going to show you a couple clips because it's just... The dog whistles are not whistles. It is a screaming alarm that won't shut off.
Welcome! Welcome to the United States of America. It is such an honor for us to receive you here today. This is the land of the free, and we know that all of you have faced... I'm Chris Landau. First of all, let me introduce myself. I'm the Deputy Secretary of State of the United States. This is my friend Troy Edgar.
Yeah, I'm the Deputy Secretary of Homeland Security. And again, welcome. It's so great to have you guys here.
It's so great to have you guys here. Welcome. Oh, we're so excited. Like, this is so stupid. Meanwhile, trigger warning, this is how we treat immigrants who aren't white. This is the Texas border. That is a little boy in diapers crawling through razor wire to get into this country. And these people who are fleeing the oppression of not having apartheid anymore get two dorky losers from the administration to come and welcome them, personally welcome them, with a whole production behind them, by the way. Cameras and boom mics and... Like, yeah, most of that is media, but they are doing this stuff for photo ops. Like, they own the right-wing media. They're just doing a photo op. Anyway, here's more.
So great to have you guys here.
I know you've gone through a long flight. I cannot believe there are babies and children who are actually so well behaved. This is much better than mine are. So bless you for that. And I think it's so happy. It makes me so happy to see you with our flag in your hands, and that flag symbolizes liberty for so many of us. Many of us, our families, have had a journey not that different from the journey that you are embarking on today. My own father was born in Europe and had to leave his country when Hitler came in the 1930s.
This guy is comparing his father, who was Jewish, I looked it up, his father fleeing Nazi Germany, to a bunch of South Africans, white South Africans, getting on a plane and coming to the United States under the president's invitation. And meanwhile, the country of South Africa, there's not a genocide against white people there. That's crazy. Apartheid ended like 30 years ago. Their democracy, they didn't get their first democratic government until 1994-ish. It's younger than me. And before democracy was apartheid. Like state-sanctioned, like slavery, extreme racism, hardcore shit is what these people grew up in. They were the dominant group in their country. Anyway, I'm gonna let this guy go on because he says a lot more horrifying stuff. Oh, real quick. The flags, he's like, I'm so glad to see you waving those flags. They gave them those flags. They brought them over here on a freaking plane that we, the taxpayers, paid for and gave them a bunch of flags to wave for the cameras.
Adjustment in life, any change takes a while to get used to. But I want you all to know that you are really welcome here and that we respect what you have had to deal with these last few years. We respect the long tradition of your people and what you have accomplished over the years. And
what? Did you hear that? We respect the long tradition of your people and what you've accomplished? What tradition is that you respect? Their Landau? What?
You know, a lot of you, I think, are farmers, right? When you have quality seeds, you can put them in foreign soil and they will blossom, they will bloom. And we are excited to welcome you here to our country where we think you will bloom, and we will hopefully allow you to have fulfilling lives for your children, and then we will bloom and we will benefit alongside you. So thank you very much for
Quality seeds? Quality seeds? I know he's saying that it's just a metaphor, but come on, these white supremacists are talking about quality seed. And why are people from El Salvador or Venezuela or Afghanistan not quality seed to bloom and grow in this country? Okay, now we get the Deputy Director of Homeland Security who's about to just gush over how harrowing their journey was to get here.
And on behalf of President Trump, Secretary Noem, we're just so grateful that you guys are here. Everybody within DHS, we've been so excited to be able to get you guys here to process, to vet, everything, so you guys get a really warm start. After all I was tracking your flight, 12 hours that you were last night. I'm like, oh my God. So thank you for just the patience of being able to get here.
Not 12 hours on a plane. Oh, they were so patient in getting here. Meanwhile, non-white refugees from countries in the Middle East and in Africa have to wait decades, some of them in refugee camps, for years before they can even begin the process of coming to the United States, and then it's another decade potentially of filing your paperwork. But these guys? Nah, 12 hours on a plane. Awful. Although I will say, if you're flying into Newark, that is kind of scary, actually. Ugh, don't know if the plane's gonna land. This whole thing is such a joke. Apparently, some of these refugees are going to Idaho, and the refugee centers in Idaho have some feelings about this. Afrikaner refugees to arrive in Idaho despite broader program suspension. The group arrived in the U.S. on Monday, receiving an unusual exception to Trump's sweeping January executive order. 9 people will come to Twin Falls. USCRI has provided services to refugees and immigrants for over 100 years and will continue to do our part regardless of country of origin, said Eskinder Nagash, USCRI president and CEO. It's a refugee resettlement group in Idaho. We are hopeful that the arrival of this group of refugees indicates the government's intention to restart the U.S. refugee program and help other refugees in need of resettlement services. Boise pastor Ben Kramer described the situation in a recent newsletter as both confusing and a divisive effort. The central issue is for those other people who are fleeing just really dangerous situations and seeking refuge here that are still being denied, he said. It's not a question of should we help refugees, it's why are certain groups of refugees being ignored while others are being given preference. Nick Armstrong, who runs Local Community Partners, a local nonprofit supporting refugees in the Treasure Valley, echoed a similar sentiment. We need to prioritize those who are most in danger, he said, but like I said, we will support and we will serve whoever comes as refugees to the United States. of course these people are going to be helped, because what else are refugee service groups supposed to do? But they are all asking the same question. Why these people? Content warning again. Why are these white South Africans welcomed when these two aren't? Shit is evil, man. It's just evil.
So, starting yesterday, the U.S. is receiving its first batch of white South African nationals that have been extended the privilege of coming to the United States as refugees from South Africa. This first batch is 8,000 of these people. So the American people don't want this. It's crazy because when Donald Trump took office, he discontinued almost entirely the refugee program. And there were like 22,000 people from different countries seeking refugee status and in the process of receiving denial or approval for the refugee status to reside in the United States due to issues in their country, which are always based and caused by, no matter what they are, the destabilization that the United States and the West has caused at some point, some way. Donald Trump discontinued this program almost entirely and threw all of these 20-something thousand people back to their countries. You come to the United States as a refugee because you're fleeing political persecution or ethnic persecution, political blah, blah, blah. It's forms of persecution. These Afrikaners are not being racially discriminated against, but I will tell you something. And I hope this is not taken the wrong way. I worked in South Africa in 2017 and 2018 for their National Assembly. And I was able to meet some of these characters because they have a party in the parliament there called the Vryshide something First Party. It's a minority party, and their party fundamentals are based on the party is based on two fundamentals, okay? These are very racist people, the most racist shit I have ever heard in my life come out of these people's mouths. And the fundamentals of their party, their politics, is the staunch opposition to affirmative action and the staunch opposition to Black economic empowerment. These people are descendants of the colonialists from the Netherlands. They came into South Africa in 1948 and before that, really, and stole all of the land. So they make up like 13% of the population in South Africa, and they own like 95% of the land. Like literally one person will have 20 or 25,000 acres that they and their lineage stole. And they are colonialist minded to this day. They are slave mentality, like slave owning mentality. They are, they exist in South Africa, and Black people are not allowed where they live unless they have a permit for work, like a housemaid or something. And they're the cause for South Africa being one of the most unequal countries in the world, according to the World Bank, to this day. And while apartheid ended in 1990, you wouldn't know it going to South Africa by the way that the Black people, the Black South Africans, are treated versus these jackasses. And that is what they are. They are fucking ignorant, evil people. I mean, they call themselves Boers and shit like that. I'm telling you, the stuff that they say, and it's like every single one of them that I met that are almost 200 of them in this party. I didn't work for this party. This party is just in the assembly. All are like that. Like they are like in their regular conversation are like, Black people don't have no intelligence. And this is the shit they say all the time, right? And it's why there's racial divide in South Africa like it is, because this minority still has a grip. So Donald Trump, at the behest of Elon Musk and Peter Thiel, with their insistence that these particular group of white people are facing racial discrimination because the National Assembly, the government of South Africa, has enacted a land back policy, which is technically expropriation without compensation, which you stole the land. You don't need to be compensated to have one person, and they will tell you, we worked hard for this land. You didn't work this is what they believe. And it's 20,000 acres, and one person will tell you that his grandfather worked hard for the land. His grandfather came from Israel and the Netherlands and stole the land by murdering the people that had it for generations. And these people that are coming to the United States, I do not like them. And nobody else is going to like them. They're not coming here because they are under oppression. They are coming here with a sense of entitlement and their wealth, and for a reason. But as they're being provided refugee status only as the exception to the rule, everyone else, no one gets this status ever again because the program is being discontinued. For 12 months at least, they have housing completely paid for. They have all of their food, all of their clothing, all of their amenities, cell phones and travel vouchers. In some cases, even they will be provided vehicles. Guess who pays for all of that when it comes down to the bottom sifting? U.S. taxpayer funds are who get those funds are derived from U.S. taxpayer funds. When everybody was yapping about the people that, like, Florida and Texas was flying to New York, the migrants last year and the year before that, and they were saying they're getting vouchers and they're getting free food and subsidies, and they weren't. Well, these 8,000 plus are going to get all of that for at least a year. And then after a year, they'll be able to change their status to permanent legal resident. And now half of the Afrikaners have an issue with coming to the United States as a refugee. But the ones that understand the agenda are the ones that are coming. And they're coming with entitlement, and they're coming with wealth. And it's going to cause racial division. I'm just being straight up with you. These Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and Peter Thiel do not have any fucking good, genuine interest in the well-being of anyone, much less South African white people. And I'm just telling you that Zionism is all in it. Zionism and Nazism were in South Africa at the end of apartheid in 1990, deeper than what Nazism was at the height of Nazi Germany in the 30s and 40s. And we can't forget that in 1994, 4 years after apartheid ended, in the year that the first democratic election took place, conservatives in the U.S. Congress were wearing ribbons that said "Hang Mandela." And so this is the mentality of people that are coming here. And they have existed and maintained their apartheid mentality, and all that truth and reconciliation was just like denazification. It was all a sham and a show. And so these people are coming here, and they're going to get U.S. taxpayer funded privilege for a year. Meanwhile, we're deporting U.S. citizens. We are at the threshold of suspending the writ of habeas corpus. Due process is something that is scoffed at. There are more homeless people now than ever before, including children who are without house, without food, without electricity, without running water. But these privileged white racist MFers are coming here under the guise of a refugee so that everything is funded, but for a different agenda than what is being let on to the American people. And largely, the American people don't even know anything about this happening. But the administration is so about it that they're going to Dulles Airport with a welcoming ceremony with a flock of government officials. So this is, the Jews are all in South Africa with the Afrikaners, training them to be snipers in an anticipation for this conflict over this land back measure that they do believe will escalate into a conflict at some point in the future. So I don't think that Americans should be welcoming to these people. I know that sounds, to some people on the surface of it, it might sound immature. And we don't want any of that racist shit here. We are dealing with our shit, but you will see when these people are here and it's attention on them that Americans, the American culture on white and black issues will make us look revolutionarily evolved compared to these backwards, knuckle-dragging white supremacists, because they are real white supremacists. They are white supremacist-minded. Currently, they are colonialist-minded, currently, they are apartheid minded currently, and they are slave master minded currently. And it's going to cause fucking chaos. And that is why I believe they're being brought here.
So an interesting thing happened today. In the midst of a very, very hardcore immigration policy where Trump is sending deputized ICE agents roaming the streets, not with any badges, not with any identification, sometimes wearing masks, ripping people off the street. It's that hardcore that they're doing everything they can to rid this country of illegal immigrants. Also, people who are actually a protected status are still getting taken out of this country and deported, and their protection status has been revoked. So in the midst of this very hardcore immigration policy, something interesting happened today. 59 white South Africans were granted refugee status, and they landed today in Washington, D.C. According to the administration, they were being persecuted in South Africa, and they had to flee. And so in the midst of this very hardcore immigration push, they were welcomed with open arms. Now, why, oh why, would that be? And what were the South Africans fleeing from? What could it be? So they are undoing years and years and decades of racist policies in South Africa, apartheid. And the white South Africans who came over here had to flee because they didn't like the new anti-racist laws in South Africa. That's not fleeing the country because you are in physical danger. That's called, I like the old racist policies. So I'm interested to hear MAGA Nation on this topic. You guys have been so hardcore that not only are illegal immigrants not allowed in here, even people who are not criminals, who are getting swept up, people who have been protected in a protected class are being swept up. Well, they shouldn't be here. You know, when people who have been brought here when they were 4 years old and they're driving in the car and they make a wrong turn, they are sent and deported. A student who has a student visa puts an op-ed in the paper criticizing the government. They are threatened and almost deported. If it wasn't for the judges, there'd be so many other people already out of here who are not criminals. So this whole thing, we know that's not what this is about. Okay, so MAGA Nation, how do you justify bringing these refugees from South Africa in here? Like, what's your justification? Be interested to hear.
Having watched the above videos, it's clear enough white Americans are angry with the white South Afrikaners relocating to the USA. Black Americans term this as not their war, and they keep claiming Trump is a racist president. Donald Trump bringing only white refugee, was this a right move? Is Donald trying to kill black supremacy in the USA? Let me know what you think about the above statements on the comment section below, and don't forget to like, subscribe and share. Thank you family. Bye.